What is going on, travelers? In today's video, we are going to be doing an in-depth guide on Rosaria. Now, Rosaria may be sitting in your account unbuilt or you just got her. In any case, she's a prime example of a flexible unit. Even at C0, you are able to use her as a main DPS or an off-field cryo sub-DPS and applicator. In this video, we are going to go into her best build for both DPS and sub-DPS. Let's get into how to build this assassin nun. For Rosaria's talents, for her normal attack, she performs a 5-hit combo. It's nothing too special about it, but it does have good damage multiplier. She also swings her polearm like a claymore, which is pretty awesome. For her skill, Rosaria shifts behind her opponent and slashes the enemy, dealing cryo damage. However, against bigger enemies, she can't move behind them. It's a simple skill with a short cooldown, but very effective. Her burst, upon activation, she slashes the enemy and summons a lance of ice on the ground that deals periodic cryo damage. Now, while active, this lance will release a blast of cold air to the enemies. It's a great sub DPS ability and cryo applicator. The only con is that it is stationary. Now let's get into Rosaria's passives. Now, when you use Rosaria's skill, her crit rate will increase by 12% for 5 seconds, and with her skill cooldown of 6 seconds, you can keep this up pretty easily, making her easier to build. Her next passive, when Rosaria uses her burst, it increases the crit rate of all nearby party members, except herself, by 15% of Rosaria's crit rate for 10 seconds. This can't exceed 15%. A bit of a crit rate buff for your team, but it's not my favorite passive. What I love about her kit, it's simple, it's straightforward. You can main DPS her or you can make her a sub DPS. I really adore such a simple kit for a character. As a 4-star, you're going to be able to get Constellations of Rosaria, so let's go over them. Her C1, when Rosaria deals a crit hit, her attack speed is increased by 10% and also her normal attack for 4 seconds. This is great for a main DPS. Her C2, the duration of her burst is extended by 4 seconds. This is absolutely insane, as you're going to be able to get more cryo damage out of this, and if you are using her as a sub DPS, it allows her burst to stay on the field much longer. Her C4, when her skill crits on an opponent, it's going to regenerate 5 energy for Rosaria, so some energy regeneration is always needed. Her C6, her burst will shred the physical resistance by 20%, for 10 seconds when it hits opponents. Now, this is great if you are going for a support for a physical damage dealer for Rosaria herself, or maybe Eula as well, but it's not all that great. Her constellations are simple. They're great as they buff all parts of her kit. C6 is great for physical support but not needed. Her best constellation, as I said before, is her C2, as it extends the duration of her burst. So now that we got her kit out of the way, how do we build her? Let's start with the sub DPS Rosaria. Now, for talent priority in this, you are going to want to level up her burst, then skill, then normal attack. For artifact stat priorities, you are going to want to run an attack or energy regen sands. You are going to want to burst periodically with her, so really keep in mind on what weapon you have on her, then you can change the sands on that. A cryo goblet and a crit circlet. For artifact sets, a 4-piece noblesse oblige is going to be great, as it's going to buff your team, and the emblem of severed fate will work great for her as well. You can also use 2-piece options with emblem, noblesse, blizzard, or any attack percentage artifact set. Now, for weapons, her best weapons would be the Deathmatch for crit rate, Favonius Lance for energy regen, Skyward Spine has a high base attack and an ER subset, which will work great for her. But her best in slot, of course, is going to be the Jade Winged Spear or the Staff of Homa. So who will she support? She works with a variety of teams such as freeze comps or melt teams as an off-field cryo applicator. Alright, so with sub DPS out of the way, let's go in and build her as a main DPS. For talent priority, you are going to want to level up her normal attack, then her burst, then her skill. For stats, you are going to want to run an attack sands. The goblet, you can either run attack, physical, or cryo damage, whichever type of DPS you are wanting to go with, and a crit circlet. Subsets focusing on crit, attack, and energy regen. For artifact sets, for a physical DPS artifact set, you can go with a 2-piece physical damage or attack. 4-piece option would be the Bloodstained Chivalry, or you can also use the 4-piece Gladiator's Finale. For a cryo DPS, the best in slot would be a Blizzard Strayer set, granting a lot of crit rate. If you are using Fiorina with her in the team, then you are able to use the Marichusi Hunter set, so you can get some more crit rate that way. Now for weapons, the craftable Dragon Spine Spear is a good option for physical main DPS. The Deathmatch from the Battle Pass is a great option across the board. The Black Clip offers crit damage and more attack. The Jade Winged Spear and Sapphahoma will offer the highest DPS capabilities yet again. Now for team comps for her main DPS physical, you can add an off-field electro applicator like Fischl, cryo support and battery like Diona, or Mika or Layla, and lastly an off-field DPS or buffer like Fiorina, Bennett, or Beidou. Now for your cryo DPS, you are able to use Chungyun to infuse her normal attack with cryo, Fiorina or Shenhe for buff, and an Animo VV Shredder. And there you have it, a Rosaria build guide. Now to me, she is a very overlooked 4-star unit that is useful in many team comps. Please comment down below on how you're going to build her. I do stream most nights on Twitch, catch me on there, and I'll see you on my next video.